Dana Gould in the studio. Yeah, my family was so broke that nobody in the family could even afford Tupperware, except for my grandparents had Tupperware.
Sure.
My mom didn't have Tupperware because she didn't need Tupperware because there were no leftovers. Because in order to create leftovers, you have to create an initial meal. And then these are what's left over from your beautiful lasagna.
Foundation of leftovers.
And then you store that in Tupperware.
Right, yeah.
But if you don't do any cooking, then you don't need it. My dad
I see.
opened a can of corn when we lived with him, dumped it into a pot with no handle, just the nub, the metal nub, because the plastic handle heat cycled enough that it just snapped off at some point. You had to use your shirt to because you didn't have a pot holder. He would just dump a can of corn into a thing and just heat it on the pot with no handle. And then you just say, they put some pasta, some spaghetti sauce out of the jar.
Sure.
So take the jar, wouldn't heat the fucking stuff. It's not cutting up. It's not like Goodfellas where he's got his razor out and he's liquefying his garlic. He'd just slop a little out of the ragu thing, like on top of the generic spaghetti. And there you go. Have one big carb explosion.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
Just a big pile of by the way, the corn, he counted as a vegetable. There was no nutritional value.
No, you could have basically been eating like packing popcorn.
Yeah, but he didn't need Tupperware either because there was nothing he cooked. My grandmother had the Tupperware and guarded it with her life.
Sure.
She would not let it out of the house. I would take home my grandfather's goulash in a mayonnaise jar that had been rinsed out. But the lid always had the crust on it from the mayonnaise.
I always like people that are save food and stuff like they were in the Depression, but they were born in 1948.
Yeah, my grandparents lived like they lived on an island.
Yeah.
And it's like, don't throw that skate out. You know what I mean? It's like, what? Why? It doesn't fit. We'll use it to chop bamboo. Like every package, every box, anything with a lid on it, that has, like if you're on an island, you wouldn't throw away a mayonnaise jar. You'd go, I'll use it to bring water. I'll trap water in it. And I'll use it to get water from the stream back to where my fort is or something. That's how they lived.
I was at my wife's grandmother's house. And we were eating, and she brings out the ketchup from the refrigerator, which is now gray. and I'm looking at my brother-in-law and my wife, and there's this standoff, who's gonna say it?
Right.
And then finally, because I go I don't think that ketchup is good anymore, and she's like, no, and so after a long, and then immediately my mother-in-law, the daughter of the old woman, goes, no, it's fine. You can see generations of.
Right.
And so it went back in the fridge.
Back in the fridge.
Didn't go to the,
Yes.
You could see a little hand growing out of it, something was the DNA helix was reforming into a new life. It was about to achieve its final state.
All I do is every time I call Mike August on a Saturday, I go, where are you, Mike? What are you doing? He goes, I dropped the kids off at soccer camp, and then then we go to volleyball camp, and then there's the thing. All he does is shuttle these kids around for all the different camps and events. And
I know
thing.
The feeling.
And I said, Mike, when I was 10, first off, shuttle you around to these events. My dad wouldn't walk out of the fucking house. I had a football. It was a football that I found at the park because the laces had been removed and the bladder was bulging out where the laces were. So you couldn't throw a spiral with it because it was oddly shaped.
Yeah.
It was a fat football. It was almost rounder than it was long, and it was bulging because somebody had thrown it away because the laces were busted and the bladder was bulging. But I'm like, still a football to me. And then I stood in front of my dad's house. I took the cup. I was awarded a cup at a Pop Warner football game. It was my greatest possession, this cup. It was after a bowl game that we played in the Channel Islands, some Channel Islands high school or something, some peewee team. Each team lined up 45-yard line, the 50-yard line. Everyone just faced each other, and they just went, all right, who's the best defensive player on that team? And they go, number 70, that guy. And I just go, all right. And I got this. They just handed me a little cup. It was the greatest because it was so pure.
Yeah.
They didn't know my name. They didn't know anything about this. Go, that guy made all the tackles, and they gave me a little miniature cup. Looked like one of those things you eat a poached egg in, or a soft-boiled egg. And I had that cup, and I had my football with the bursting bladder. And I stood out in my dad's front yard, and I used a cup as a tee. I set the football on it, and I just kicked it from one side of the yard, turned around, got the ball. But until I busted the cup, until I kicked the cup in half, and then I threw the cup away.
Sure.
That was my childhood.
Yeah, things that were just normal behavior for these people today would be, the state would take you out of the home.
Right. Yes.
When I was 1972, I was 9 years old, or 8 years old, and I broke my collarbone.
Mm-hmm.
And my father took me to the hospital the minute the game ended. And I had to sit in the kitchen crying.
Right.
Until the game ended. And then he was like, angrily drove me to the hospital.
I know. And so when Dana and I realized that some employee can't make it in today because he's celebrating his half birthday, you have to understand our perspective.
Yeah, that's well put.
It's a different perspective.
Yeah,
a different experience. Our lived experience.
Yeah, my brothers and I were regularly driven through the woods in the back of a pickup truck at night by a drunk person.
Yes.
It is like we all know, like, it's crazy we're all here. It's crazy no one died. It's really nuts.
All right, news, Max Zapata.
Sure. So Larry Nassar is back in the news.
Not in a good way.
Of course.
No.
I don't think it ever will.
He's never been. Not like the old days.
So a reminder, he's the disgraced sports doctor who is convicted of sexually abusing all the female gymnasts. So it is on Sunday.
But he's not the USC guy.
He's the Olympic
guy.
Olympic
guy.
And Michigan State.
Yeah.
Michigan State, I think.
There's a USC guy's got the same problems.
No,
yes.
Yeah. So, well, it's been reported that on Sunday, Larry was stabbed multiple times during an altercation with another inmate at his federal prison in Florida. Twice in the neck, twice in the back, 6 times in the chest. Also suffered a collapsed lung during the attack. It's been reported that he is in stable condition at the moment. But yeah.
I mean, no bigger target than that in prison, right?
No, they my brother, former retired prison guard. Mm-hmm. They are the people who sexually abuse children are known in prison as the diddlers. And yeah, you were just you were a moving target.
Well, yeah, that of course is common knowledge, but they were prepared for this fact because he was placed in a unit with other sex offenders.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, his unit in 2018 is placed with other sex offenders, and they said
I wonder if they have a good softball team. I wonder if those guys are just better at it. They focus a little harder, a little more disciplined. You know.
They've been around the Little League games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've studied.
Everybody has candy.
Right.
Yeah, the most fun team, I guess.
Yes.
So the officers who are guarding the unit, they are attributing this attack to working mandated overtime shifts because of staffing shortages, and that's what everyone's saying. It's because of the staff shortages at these prisons are why all these attacks are happening.
How was your brother? That sounds like the most depressing job on the planet.
Pretty hard.
Yeah, I couldn't.
He told me. Okay, all right. 2 things. One, just apropos of nothing to what we're talking about. I took my dog to the groomer the other day. Make sure it's the dog groomer. Guy just came out.
Oh, a guy came out.
Guy just came out
showing him pornography.
Said, you seem really mature for your age. Now my dog wants to
groomer.
Now my dog wants to model.
Oh wow!
No, I'll tell you the story my brother told me, but I have to do it in his voice. Okay, 20 seconds. I wake up the other day and it's snowing. It's pissing snow, and I'm late for work, and I got a brand new truck, and I start the truck, and my wiper snaps off. It hits a piece of ice. Now I'm so pissed. I'm driving to work. I got the window down. I'm wiping it with a rag. I get to work. I don't even have time to get stoned in the car before I go in. I got to go right in.
Wow.
I'm on eyeball duty, which is some guy who's on a suicide watch, and I just sit in front of his cell on a stool, and I just make sure he doesn't hang himself.
Wow.
I'm sitting there, and there's 5 other guys on eyeball duty on either side of me, and I'm just sitting on bullshit. And this guy's pacing around. Finally, he goes, "Officer Gould, may I ask you a question, sir?" And I go, "What?" He goes, "I'm in here for another 48 years, and you look more upset than I do." And I looked up at him, and I went, "My wiper broke."
Wow. Eyeball duty.
Eyeball duty.
Oh, my God.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, so because of these shortages, actually, like prisons are being forced to use cooks, teachers, nurses, and other workers to guard these inmates.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the prison guard union is monolithic. Like, you can't get elected governor of California without going to the prison guard union and going, "What do you want?"
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird. Mike August's brother, his brother, does insurance for prison guards and prison guards.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to have a lot to talk about next Christmas party.
But so anyway, I'm Larry Nassar stabbed. In stable condition either way. I think everyone's okay with it. But
No one's upset.
Right. But what I love about the Larry Nassar story is this video of, remember in 2018, it was during the sentencing, and there was this father there who had 3 of his daughters who gave their victim impact statements, and so the judge is like, "Is there anything else you want to say before we sentence him?" And this is what he said.
"And if you need to say something to help you, I'm more than willing to let you say something. But in a courtroom, we don't use profanity. But if you have some words that you would like to say, I would like to give you the opportunity to say them."
I would ask you to, as part of this sentencing, to grant me 5 minutes in a locked room with this demon.
I have
Would you do that?
That is not how
Yes or no?
No, sir, I can't.
Would you give me
do that.
1 minute?
People are
You know, I
laughing.
can't do that. That's not how our legal system
Well, I'm going to have
works.
to.
Just rush.
He went
right
for
at
it.
him. Yeah. Gets pinned down. Wasn't no charges brought against him for contempt.
Oh, okay. Then, Ren,
Yeah.
Wow, I'd never seen
Isn't
that.
that great?
that's great.
Yeah.
There was a clip of a guy had kidnapped his son and abused him, and he was being they caught him in another state, and he was being extradited back, and they're walking the guy through the airport, and the guy's got a smirk on his face, and there's a guy on a payphone a couple years ago, and it was the father of the victim. And the minute they walk past him, the guy drops the phone, takes out a gun, and blows him away.
Really?
Yeah, you got to find it. And
My dad would never do that for me. He'd be like, "We've got
What'd you do?"
pot with no handle. Have some more corn."
But I'm wondering, if you're the judge, I go, "Yeah, okay, just don't do it again."
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah, I think we all kind of enjoy frontier justice.
yeah, if you do that to a kid or this,
Yeah.
Like-
What do we need you for?
yeah, I'm not. It's like, it's like the people that against the, they always say, "How can you be against abortion and for the death penalty?" I'm for both.
Yeah.
I don't value anyone's life.
I always say that. Like, all the people that are against the death penalty love the story of, the guy went in to molest her for the 3rd time, but this time she had a gun. You know what I mean? You go, good, right? They go, yeah, good. And you go, all right, now let's just have the state be the one with the gun.
Yeah, I have no problem at all.
Yeah, we got Leslie Van Houten just got paroled.
That's
crazy, right?
I often, because Manson would still go up for parole when he was alive, like every whatever. And I was like, did he get his hopes up? Was he in the window? Then was in the mirror the night before practice. "Oh, Charles Manson, nice to see you."
That's right.
"How are you, Charles Manson?" Imagining the job he's going to have when he's out. "Charles Manson, Emerson Drywall, come on in the showroom."
Yeah, Sharon Tate's mom would have to make the pilgrimage like every 7 years to sit there at the county whatever in front of Charles Manson. Oh, by the way, I wouldn't have showed up. I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm like, look,
We know.
she's not getting out. He's not going to get out.
I'm,
But she
I'm
would show up.
astounded Leslie Van Houn's getting out.
Yeah, she's been in for 53 years, I think. I was just talking to Mark Garagos about this over the weekend. I'm like, Leslie Van Houten got out. I was like, the Menendez brothers can't be far behind.
No.
Because the argument is basically, if you can parole one of the Manson family members, then there's nobody
And
in
she
any
was-
prison anywhere who can't claim I should be
And
paroled.
she was in the house. She wasn't the one that waited outside.
She
That
was
would be
the
the
one
only-
that Brad Pitt's hit with a soda can.
Right. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
I think she went. I think she was in on the van. I think she was in on the LaBianca.
Yeah, I mean, if you
murders.
were in one of the homes, like if you killed somebody, or if I killed somebody by accident,
Right.
like, and if I killed somebody in a car, like,
drunk driving.
yeah, whatever. Well, I've never been drunk, but like, yeah, something. Blew a tire, killed a guy. Even if it was not intentional, I would assume, well, I'm going to jail for the rest of my life.
Right.
I killed a guy.
Yeah.
And then people that stab and shoot people, they're going like, God, am I going to have to do 3 years?
Right.
Really? it's amazing to me.
One of the craziest short one. The craziest, shortest, and now Ben's gonna have to look for it. Dominic Dunn, I think the attorney. I think it was like a news attorney, like a CNN attorney. I think he had his daughter was Dominique Dunn.
Yeah. It was the stalking law was written about Dominique Dunn, and he was a very famous. He was a journalist. He wrote for Vanity Fair, wrote a lot of books.
And she was,
Griffin Dunn's sister.
oh really? Choked out by her boyfriend, like
At
in
Park
the
La Brea.
driveway.
Park La Brea.
Just choked her out with his bare hands.
No, it wasn't her boyfriend. It was her stalker.
I think they had a previous relationship.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We can look it up. Choked her, just killed her with his hands.
Yep.
Did like 6 years and 4 months, got out, was, 27, got a job as a chef in Seattle.
Insane.
Insane, right?
Insane,
Like if somebody took your daughter,
Insane.
they didn't back the car
No, and if
over,
he-
like wrung her
And if
neck.
if Dominic Dunn went to that, he's passed, but like if he went to that place and killed that guy, like he would go to jail for longer.
I know. It's a crazy story. Yeah, we'll
We
find
just
that
want to
story.
kill people.
Yes. All right. Anyway, she's getting paroled.
Yeah. What about the Cain Velasquez thing? Is that still going on?
He's out. I mean, he was in for a while. He had no parole.
Yes. Do you know what happened with Cain Velasquez? He
I don't know anything about this.
Kane, former UFC heavyweight champion. Daughter, I think, was being abused.
his son.
A son being abused at some, daycare, whatever place with the son that lived with the mom who had the
sexually, not like bullied by another kid.
No,
but like, okay.
no, you won't do that to Cain Velasquez. Well,
No.
you shouldn't put anything to Cain Velasquez. Spotted the guy like out. That guy didn't get. I think he got charged or something, but they said his parole. They said his bail cheap or whatever, and he let him out. And Cain spotted him out on the open road
Bad.
pulled a pistol out and fired a few shots into the car. Didn't kill him or anybody else, but got arrested and put in jail, and he got no parole.
Right.
The other guy got parole,
Sure.
but he got no bail, I should say. No bail, and he spent a year in the joint, I think, and then he got bailed out. They were able to make bail about a year later. I don't know, and I don't know where the case is.
Yeah.
I got to talk
Crazy.
to Mark
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Crazy.
They dated, moved in together, and after a few weeks, that guy got kicked out. So they were boyfriend, girlfriend, and he just killed her.
And that is when Gavin DeBecker wrote the stalking law
Right.
based on that case.
Or you could be mistaking it
I could be.
for My Sister Sarah sitcom, young
Isn't the
chick.
same? It's the same thing. She was an actress.
2 different actresses.
Really?
Yes. One, my sister Kate, sister Sarah, what's her name? Me and you got to get high, and hang out, and just go round and round and round like tussle.
I just know someone's dead.
No, a woman who has the same sort of description,
Right.
who is an actress, an upcoming actress.
That might have been the one in Park La Brea.
Right, who did have a stalker.
Yeah, it was my sister Sam. It was Rebecca Schaefer.
Rebecca Schaefer.
Yeah.
That's the stalker one.
See, when you said, what was her name? Dunn? What was her first name?
Dominique.
When
Yeah.
you said Dominique Dunn, it sounded to me like Rebecca Schaefer.
Yeah, they're almost
So
the
I'm
same.
right.
And don't expect your
When you put it that way,
your 6 foot wife's not going to call you out on your bullshit, Dana, but I am.
Oh, she will as well.
Well, it'll be condiment related. This is something else. Yeah,
We're in a gray ketchup zone here.
she got shot by the stalker.
Okay, that's it.
And then the
Right.
guy, I don't know, what'd the guy do? 6 years, 2 months or something? I mean, literally, the guy choked out Dominique Dunn,
That's
moved to Seattle, and got on with his life. Like he's working as a chef.
Yeah.
He was sentenced 6 years, but served only 3 years, 7 months, and 27 days of a 6.5 year sentence.
That's mind-boggling.
Sentenced to 6.5 years.
Mind-boggling. Mind-boggling.
Jesus.
And and if you're the father
For murder.
if you're the father of that girl, it's like, well, I mean, if somebody hurt my kid in that way, I would be very happy waking up in jail every day if I had killed a guy. Like, well, I did what I had to do.
Did 3 years out of the 6, and I don't know how they got to 6.5 for murder with his hands.
Yeah, I don't get it at all. I don't get it at all.
All right.
all right. There's a lot of controversy over Jonah Hill this weekend.
Yeah,
Have you
heard
seen-
about
have you seen
that.
this? So his ex-girlfriend, her name's Sarah. She's a surf instructor. So on her Instagram, she shared screenshots of their like past text message exchanges, while calling him like a narcissist and misogynist. By the way, Jonah's 39. She's 26. They began dating in 2021, and then split up last year. So I have some of the like the text exchanges, because everyone's kind of analyzing these and either calling Jonah realistic or abusive, depending on how you take it. So I'll just read one of the texts. This is the main one that everyone's talking about. So Jonah texted her this, because remember, she's a surf instructor. She's posting pictures of her surfing on Instagram and bathing suits, things like that. So he says, plain and simple, if you need this, and then he lists these bullet points: surfing with men, boundaryless, inappropriate friendships with men. If you need to model, if you need to post pictures of yourself in a bathing suit, if you need to post sexual pictures, if you need friendships with women who are in unstable places and from your wild recent past beyond getting a lunch or coffee or something respectful, I am not the right partner for you. If these things bring you to a place of happiness, I support it, and there will be no hard feelings. These are my boundaries for romantic partnership, my boundaries with you based on the way these actions have hurt our trust.
That sounds very reasonable to me.
Well, so a lot of people are saying that he's using therapist speak to abuse her.
Well, here's
Well, a lot of people pay for that.
yeah.
I mean,
Well, I'm sure that I think it's fine if she then left. If she's
Right.
like, well, I'm a surfing instructor, so if you have a problem with me surfing in any capacity,
right.
let's end it here.
Yes.
Surfing with men, that's a little,
Yeah.
most,
If you're a surfing instructor, you're probably going to surf with
I would
men.
say 87% of the human beings that I pass going down, I say pass, but when I drive down PCH from Malibu and come into this shack in Glendale, I don't really pass them as much as I curse them, which is, it's fucking Wednesday and it's 10:45 in the morning. What are you
Why are
guys
you
doing?
surfing?
Why are you guys out enjoying yourselves?
Because they're most of them are writers on strike.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Like,
They should be walking around Radford with a
how
sign.
did you arrange your schedule? And I'll see the dudes getting out. They're like 32, pulling the wetsuit off. It's like, it's fucking Wednesday. It's 10 in the morning. Where are you so independently wealthy?
Today's
Like,
swell dictates your
how
life.
did you arrange your life that this is
I
where
know.
you are? But they're all dudes, but there's about 15% are chicks.
Yep.
I would say. So if you're a surf instructor, you will be hanging with dudes.
I remember once I was in Hawaii on the beach, and this woman walked by me holding a surfboard. And it's 5'10", blonde, just flawless. And I thought like, we're not the same thing.
Right.
Yeah.
There's no way we're the same kind of human being.
We're not the same species.
Yeah,
Not from the
And
same
she was
phylum.
just like astonishing.
So, anyway, first off,
Dude from Thailand.
Jonah Hill seems weird to me. Yes? Sure. Does he seem weird?
Actor crazy. There's your headline.
Yeah.
Well, and some other things that happened. So Jonah just had a baby about a month ago. So then she comes out and decides to post all these things. So everyone thinks it's because she found out Jonah had a baby with his new girl, that she's putting out she's airing out all this dirty laundry. But Jonah has not responded at all. In fact, like
he's smart.
Months ago, he even just said, "I'm getting off social media, period, for my mental health and all this stuff." So
he's smart.
So he's not saying anything.
Yeah.
Good for him.
Here's the problem. The problem is there is tons of data being collected on everyone all the time, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone who has a Ring doorbell or a nanny cam or
a laptop,
a phone. Yeah. I mean, it's just, and this thing where we act like, where you hear the recording of Alec Baldwin screaming at his daughter, little piggy girl or something. It's like, that's a guy who went through a really shitty divorce and lost custody or something, and you stood him up the last 4 times he was supposed to be picking you up. You weren't there, whatever, and he's had a really shit day, and now we get a 22-second recording of him at his worst.
And that's his entirety to us. That's all he's ever done.
Right. And
we've all had terrible moments.
I've said horrible things to people of my entire life.
To me, during the break.
To you, during the break. Yeah. I mean, and you could text, and of course, anyone who's been in a relationship, gotten into an argument, been fucking pissed off, maybe done a little drunk texting or something, and fuck you, and the fucking broom you rode in on, you old bitch, whatever. And then we all clutch our pearls, and we go like, oh my goodness, what was this? And it's like, this is human behavior. It's been going on for several thousand years. It's now being chronicled. That's the difference. And the people who release it are really the ne'er-do-wells in this equation.
It is one of those things where, somebody was talking about the George Floyd thing. I was like, this isn't a new thing that police have been doing.
Right.
It's just
they just chronicle it now.
No, it used to be that people didn't walk around with movie cameras. Everybody has a movie camera now. That's right. We're just knowing more about it.
Yes.
Everybody's had I've said horrible things in arguments. It's the nature of an argument. You lose your. I'm not saying they were in an argument, whatever. I have nothing to do with Jonah Hill. We can all be. Anybody can take a random snapshot of us at our worst and blow it up. And that's who you are.
And out of context.
And that's who you are,
Yeah, the only good, it's also funny, too, because I perceive things differently than everyone else. Like, there's a news story that Joe Biden yells at everyone and does a lot of cussing. That's some new Axios story or something.
By the way,
and I'm
good.
like, good. That's good. Someone's fucking up. Go yell at him.
Yeah.
Like, I hear the stories that are supposed to be mudslinging, and I go, good. I want whoever's in charge cussing.
Irish guy angry. Right. Oh my God.
Right. All right. So,
did you ever hear the recording of JFK chewing out the guy?
No.
Oh, there's a guy. Jackie was gonna have a baby, and they had this at the Naval Hospital. They made a special room for her, and they put it in Life magazine. And he calls up the guy that was responsible. And he's the president of the United States, reaming him out. Like, do you know what they're going to... Now they're going to say she gets special treatment. You just blew the Air Force budget. And it's just...
Really?
It's easy to find. I'm sure it's on YouTube.
We've all heard the Casey Kasem one, which is great.
Yeah.
And then there's the...
a little jog named Snuggles.
That's classic. We've heard the... Oh God, who's the jazz
Buddy
drummer?
Rich.
Buddy Rich.
Buddy Rich.
Buddy Rich.
That's the. But
That's
this is
a
like
great one.
and he drops the F-bomb on him. It's the president of the United States. It's like,
I want to hear this.
Yeah.
it's easily found. Yeah, it's like
There's the Bill O'Reilly one. Just do it. There's God, what's his name with the hammering? Lawrence O'Donnell.
Yeah, that's
oh yeah.
the
Is it
hammering.
Lawrence O'Donnell that does it? Who was the
I
sports?
think it is Lawrence O'Donnell.
Who was the? Oh, okay. Yeah, this is it.
Okay, this is JFK call.
General? Yes, sir. That Air Force has caused itself more grief with that silly bastard. Did you see the post this morning?
Yes, sir. I'm looking.
See that fella's picture by the bed?
Yes, sir.
And you see that furniture they bought from Jordan Marsh? What the hell do they let the reporters in there for? Are they crazy up there? Now you know what's going to do. Any congressman's going to get up and say, Christ, if they can throw $5,000 away on this, let's cut them another $1 billion. You just sank the Air Force budget. You're crazy up there. Are they crazy? That silly bastard with his picture next to the bed?
Sir, I'm appalled, but,
Well, I'm appalled, too. Now, the thing of the matter is, I'm going to get that furniture. I've just told Sylvester, and you can talk to him. I want to find out if we pay for that furniture, because I want it to go back to Jordan Marsh's.
all right, sir.
Then I want that fella's incompetent who had his picture taken next to Mrs. Kennedy's bed, if that's what it is. I mean, he's a silly bastard. I wouldn't have him running a cat house. And that Colonel Carlson, who let in Larry Newman and those reporters, is he crazy too? Christ, they're not all incompetent. Is that the way they're throwing money around over there? You better look into it, and especially when you told me that they hadn't spent a cent.
Well, sir, this is obviously...
Well, this is obviously a fuck-up. That's okay. Right.
Wow, that's awesome.
There. And he knows about cat houses. So when he
Yeah.
says I wouldn't let him run a cat house, he's not just pulling words out of thin air.
Now,
He's
cat
been in
house. Don't confuse cat house and groomer. 'Cause they're both
very different.
Cat condo's fine. Cat house, that's different. Yeah. I just love when guys are getting chewed out and they just make noises. You know?
And also, it's just like, that guy's an Air Force general.
Here, you
and it's just
be John F. Kennedy and chew me out.
Now, how I come in here and I see these I can't get in. I can't get into the lot. I'm standing out on flour, running the bit. Who's in charge over there? I had to wait 11 seconds. 11 seconds in 70-degree heat. Is that how you run your show? Well, it's insane.
Yeah.
Taking it.
And by the way, and the first thing that guy did when he hung up the phone was chew out the person that was in his eyesight. What are you
Right.
doing? Drinking coffee?
Right. Yeah. Yeah, he had to yell at whoever.
Yeah, and as a grown man, Air Force general, and you just got to eat it.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about this is one of my favorite things. You're talking about like a moment of your life snapped on camera and blown up for the world, and that's you. Picture in your mind the picture of, speaking of Kennedy, the picture of Lee Harvey Oswald getting shot. And there's Jack Ruby and there's Lee Harvey Oswald. And then there's the Texas Ranger that Lee Harvey Oswald was handcuffed to.
Right.
And he's going, ah!
Right.
He's okay. The guy is like 6'2". He's built like a linebacker. And he's a Texas Ranger in Dallas in 1963.
Right.
This guy was a badass.
Right.
They had the guy that assassinated the president and they handcuffed him to him.
Right.
So you know this guy, you don't want to mess with this guy.
Right.
But it's a split second where the guy next to him is getting shot. There's literally a pistol being fired a foot, and he has a very normal reaction of, "Ugh."
Right.
But that's him for the world. So I used to do a bit in my act, and I was in Addison, Texas, I go, for the rest of that guy's life, all of his friends were, hey, we're going to lunch, Mike. And they're all doing that weird position.
Yeah.
Guy came up after me to the show and he goes, that guy is my grandfather.
Wow.
And he goes, and that's exactly what happened.
Wow.
Yeah.
You've transcended comedy, Dana Gould.
Yeah.
You study the human condition at this point. It's beyond. But it's true. But the best comedy is something that had to have actually
Had to happen. Yeah.